it's me. It's early morning here in the UK, and I come on to share something interesting. Obviously, I'm excited about it, like most things in life at the moment, it seems, even though I've got a poorly foot and we've got to move home. You know, I started to think about a bit of magic and a bit of how I'm thinking. And recently I've been really inspired by some exploration into creativity and personality and am I who I think I am and all that sort of malarkey. And I sort of thinking about my foot, and those of you who will have seen the pictures, you know, or 3 weeks ago today, I took a tumble down some stairs. I thought I was on the second to bottom step, and I wasn't. I thought I was on the bottom step, and I wasn't. I was on the second to bottom step, and I sort of landed in midair and thought, "Where's the floor?" And then, of course, hit the floor, and my leg gave way, and I rolled really badly onto my ankle. And so then, for about a week, maybe 10 days, I just did all the things that I knew to do around healing it, thinking it was a sprain, and then I just thought, I'll just go get it x-rayed and just check. Anyway, I have got a couple of little bone breaks in there. One called an avuncular fracture, which is very new to me. And Sally Roberts was the lady who said, you might just have one of those. And I thought, and then my understanding is it's where the ligament comes away from the bone. But instead of the ligament snapping, the bone comes away with it, which is a bit grim to think about. But I just see it in my mind's eye of this little bone that's now stretching towards where it should be, and my ligament like following, you know, it's like, it'll be like micro millimeters of damage, but there is that little fracture in there. And, you know, I've had a bad back for ages. Maybe that terminology isn't right anymore. Historically, I've had disc compression and all sorts of stuff. I had a little bit of surgery in my L5-S1, which has affected my leg, and I've not the surgery but the disc itself. So I had all this nerve damage, muscular signals not going to my muscles properly, all that sort of thing, and lots of confusion in my left leg as a result of all this disc stuff. And my ankle has been jammed for ages. Really, I have a lot of therapists that help me. And I'm really thankful to all of them. I once thought I ought to have some sort of get them all together and let them talk to each other over dinner. I think I probably will do that one day, just invite them all to dinner. They're all women, massage therapist, acupuncturist, Bowen therapist, and an osteo who is more around manipulation, not manipulation, sort of easing muscle tension and all that sort of stuff. And there's been others, but those are my core 4 women at the moment, who I once a week have a treatment with one of them and try to keep it in a rhythm of every 4 weeks, seeing one of them. So, yeah, that's another thing, all this appreciation for those people who have helped me to heal from this injury. So whilst I was getting ready this morning, I was thinking about my ankle. It's been congested for so long. It's been like jammed up, not full range of movement, etc., etc. And in my mind, you know, I wrote a post about when things don't go like you expect them, you know, what is the lesson, you know, what's the learning, what can you make the meaning from this? And for me, it was around, one of my first thoughts was, okay, so this break is to break this space open so it can heal better. And that's what I'm carrying, that belief. Now, some people might go off down another route, which I could do, you know, oh, I'm going to get arthritis, my ankle's going to get worse, I'm never going to be able to walk, because I just started to walk more as well. And that's all gone by the by, you know, and picking that up, and I could go down that route of I've lost my fitness, I'm not going to, you know, and all that around not being able to get on my bike, etc., etc. And yet there's this more inner wisdom part of me that's saying, okay, so what is another reason why your ankle's broken, why you are demobilized at the moment. And so my thoughts are that this is creating space in my ankle. It's got worse before it's got better. You know, that sort of thinking. It's giving space. Breaks often give space for healing. And you could put that into anything. Relationships, breaking, whatever. It gives space for healing. There's some message in it all. And, you know, there is still that old part of me that thinks, oh, this is just wishful thinking. And actually, I'm beginning to see that wishful thinking is a great way to think. As opposed to worst case scenario thinking. So a lot of this stuff that is coming up for me and sharing on Facebook and in my group at the moment is around looking at how am I talking to myself? What is the story that I'm creating? Where am I putting my focus? And if it is true that what we focus on is what we create, then why would I focus on getting arthritis, being less mobile, da-da-da-da? Why am I not thinking in a more positive realm that this is a healing break? And, you know, and I can extrapolate that out to my personal experience of estrangement. I can extrapolate that out to anything that's going on in my life. And I'm really enjoying this way of rose-coloured spectacles. I have got an eye on the current reality, which is I have got a broken ankle. That is my current reality. The amount of limitation that brings into my life is not an awful lot. So I'm able to move around, I can walk on it, etc., etc. And so I suppose that helps me in keeping sunny side up, sort of, so to speak. And, you know, and I've had a few curved balls thrown at me by people saying that this is emotional bypassing, spiritual bypassing, whatever, you know, this positive thinking, toxic positivity, you know, and all that malarkey. And only I know, from the outside I can see that that's how it might look, and only I know whether I'm in a denial of anything that's going on in my life or the way that I feel. And I'm old enough and wise enough now to know that feelings are very much present in my body, and I don't always have to act on them. You know, if I feel angry, it's not appropriate to get angry with the person who I'm feeling angry with. And it's, so I'm not in that realm of doing this, just focusing on the positive stuff without recognising that there's a load of shinola going on in my life as well. It's like holding these two paradoxical beliefs together, which is like brain scrambling. If you've ever, I'm sure you'll have done it. You've like, well, on one hand, but then on the other hand, you know, you've got this, what you would call, I suppose, this cognitive dissonance, to give it its posh name. It's like, but that's true, and that's also true, and which is the truth? And I suppose now I'm beginning to get to this place that what's true for me is true for me, and all I can do is share my truth. And if that resonates a little bit with you, then that's great, and if it doesn't, then that's great too, you know. And it's like, I've got a book I'm looking at my bookcase over there, and I've got a book that the front of it's out, and it's called Big Magic. Now, why? And it's what's the name? Elizabeth Gilbert. That's the author of it. And it's the only book that is facing outwards. And I think I've put it like that as a reminder to keep thinking big magic, you know. And I used to go off down these negative, doom-laden, worst-case scenario thoughts so often. Hello. Good morning. You know, I used to go off down these doom-laden, worst-case scenario thoughts all the time, you know, I appreciate that when you're in the thick of it, it's really tough not to. You know, when there's an event that is really, like, difficult. And recently we got told that we have to move from this flat that I love, that I live in, that I plaster all over Facebook pictures of it, and, you know, and all the time. And when I first heard it, you know, and I've been ignoring the nudges that had been saying, come on, Sunday, it's time to move new beginnings, new fresh start somewhere, wherever that may be. But so then the universe delivers it in the form of a white A4 envelope, doesn't it? It's time to go. So, you know, when I first got the letter, as soon as I saw it, I thought, I know what this is. And then I opened it and read it and thought, oh, yeah. So, and then went into a bit of a meltdown for about 2 hours. Now, in days gone by, I'd still be in the bloody meltdown. I'd still be worrying about where we're going to live, all this stuff about moving. Instead of being in the cooking up of, oh, this is exciting, because at the moment, all the houses that I want to rent or flats are all mine until I choose one. You know, it's like looking at the menu in a restaurant and thinking, it's all mine until I choose one. I shared that with a friend and she chuckled straight away. She got the analogy. You know, it's like, how do I retrain? Well, I'm not even going to put the how there. I am consciously retraining my thoughts and also checking out my feelings, because they come together. Our thoughts create our feelings, and I'm not willing anymore to be at the effect of my feelings when all they are is a remembering of a painful time or an imagining of a future painful time. I'm quitting that game because I'm not doing myself any good. You know, I'm giving myself a cocktail of chemicals, because you can feel it. I know you'll feel it. You're giving yourself a cocktail of chemicals that are life damaging. We're not designed to run on stress. And it's interesting that a lot of us have stress in our lives to avoid looking. You know, we keep busy, busy, busy. That's why the whole world's busy. You know, and that... Anyway, I'm off on a soapbox there. Can you tell? So I'm not willing anymore to be at the effect of my thoughts and feelings. There. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, honey. Talking to myself. I can feel there's some part of me, probably my ego, going, oh no. You mean you're not going to listen to me anymore? No, I'm not. I'm going to listen to you. I'm not going to make you wrong. I'm just going to recognise that you're an old voice. You're an old story. You're an old way of how I used to do me. You know, I'm up for changing my personality. I'm up for changing my identity. I'm working on not being attached to who I am. And that's big stuff, you know, because if I'm going to hone who I ideally want to be, who I want to respond in each and every moment, and it's a big piece of work, you know, and I'm possibly going to fall off the wagon a lot, and I already have done, and yet there's a lot of stuff that I've incorporated into my life that's really useful. And it's like gathering my magic tools around me so that I can become who I really want to be and how I really want to manifest in the world, from a place of love and not from a place of fear. Because all this like thinking about what ifs, instead of the what ifs and thinking, oh, what if? You know, this is... There's a whole range of different outcomes from those two perspectives, you know, looking at life from a what if perspective. And I find it interesting that there's pushback from people who really struggle with the fact that, you know, like thoughts and feelings aren't real. When I first heard that, I thought, that's a load of baloney. That's all I've got, my thoughts and feelings. That's real, you know, because, yeah, anyway. So I first heard that and the resistance was huge. And gradually I've come to realise that actually my thoughts and feelings aren't real. They're real in the sense that I feel them and I think them. And they're not real in that they're the truth of what's going on in the current moment. it's a big piece of work. It's a big quest of myself, you know, and I'm on it. Elizabeth Gilbert keeps reminding me over there, big magic. So if that made sense to you, I'm really grateful and cheering you on to put your rose-coloured spectacles on and see what it's like for a while. And I know why we put the sunglasses on. I know why we put the shades on. Because we're scared. You know, it's scary. It feels scary to be joyful, positive, optimistic, taking responsibility and the creator of your own life, your own experience of your own life. That's probably truer to say. Because bad things happen, they come to us, and yet it's how we choose to respond to those. You know, some people have said to me that I've been lucky not to end up in a wheelchair with what's gone on in my back. And it never occurred, well, that's not true, it did occur to me that I might not be able to walk anymore. And that was a lesson. You know what that lesson brought me? Was that my life wouldn't end if I was in a wheelchair, that I'd just be writing more and hassling people to push me faster. But it took working through that experience. That was another slice of coming to terms with being older and having to return to being cared for by somebody, if there's anybody that wants to care for me, that phase of my life. And I'm creating it, that I will be, when I'm older and less able, that there'll be people who want to serve me, not like, in my mind, like they do in other places, but with appreciation, love, respect and honour. There's something about getting older that brings in so much material. Well, I suppose all our lives bring in so much material. And, you know, and I could have created it so that I did end up in a wheelchair with this back and leg. And I didn't, because I had something in me that resisted that temptation to go down that worst case scenario route and said, no, I'm going to get well. And it's the same with this foot. I've just got myself some St. John's wort oil. I know every time I put it on, and I don't know why I've never put it on, it's Hypericum is really good for nerve healing, because I've got a lot of nerve damage in my back and leg. And so I've got it for my foot and my ankle, and I thought, why am I not putting this on my lower back and down the bits, the channels where the nerves come from your back and then they go down your legs? Why am I not putting it on those bits where it feels icky? So I started to do that. And in my mind, I'm thinking, when I'm putting it on, you know, this is my healing. This is the healing for my nerves, you know, and it might take forever, and it might not, you know. I think our brains, when used as a servant, you know, as in service, don't like the word servant really, using our brains as to be in service to us rather than being the unconscious wrecker. The unconscious wrecking ball in there. I like that. You know, is it just like, if you're not aware of these things in here, it's like you've got this wrecking ball in there that's just like firing on fear and just like pushing you around your physical body, pushing you around in your life, and you're thinking, why is this happening to me? And it's because, and I only know this because I've experienced it myself, it's because I'm tuned into those wrecking ball thoughts rather than my creative, how do I want it to be thoughts. I quite like that. I'll be using that. Have you got a wrecking ball in there? Or have you got Tinkerbell with a magic wand going bing? We choose. I know it feels like we don't choose, and yet we do, even if it's unconscious. And that's the great bit, when you suddenly look at your thoughts and you think, oh my God, look what I'm thinking. And then you don't make yourself wrong, you know, that's the hard bit. Giggling like I do is like, you know, making fun of what goes on in here is just like, that's a magic spell. that's, oh my gosh, look at what I'm thinking. And then consciously choosing to change it. Because what I experienced was that my thoughts were so repetitive. They were like, you know, furrows in a field with a plough's made. Some were like, mine were like trenches. You know, they were so well honed, so well walked. And I never got anywhere on them. You know, just ended up down a big black hole from this trench. So I'm ploughing new furrows now. I'm ploughing new neural pathways to give it its scientific title. And underneath here, I'll copy a link of a really interesting interview. It's 2 hours long. It's with a guy called Joe Dispenza, if you haven't come across him. And this, I keep listening to this recording, and he's being interviewed by a British guy. I can't remember his name, but he's the chief CEO or something. But he's been interviewing quite a lot of well-known names, and Dr. Joe Dispenza is one of them, who's working in the field of quantum and all that malarkey. And this 2 hour interview, I keep re-listening to it in chunks and taking notes, because it's really firing my own thought processes around all of this, and how to talk about it publicly, how to bring it into my being, as well as and bringing the language into Sunday's Yorkshire language, you know. So it's understandable and not just a load of words that don't mean anything. So I'm trying to translate it, you know. Well, I'm not trying, I'm working at translating it, so that I can understand it and embody it and practice it. And yeah, so that's the direction of travel at the moment. And it's all a little bit uncomfortable, as any change is, and I'm inviting it in, because I kind of see the gold at the end of it, the alchemy work at the end of it, you know, transitioning from this muddy worst case scenario thinking, which doesn't serve me, to this more connecting, loving, inspiring way of thinking, whilst knowing in my heart, you know, that this is the current reality, what I'm dealing with, and I can choose to have worst case scenario thoughts about it, or these dreams around it. And who's to say what end result I'm going to create? You know, that's the game, isn't it? What end result do I want to create? Oh, it felt good to say all of that. Anyway, it's Saturday morning. I'm going out with my sweetie pie Stephen to get some breakfast. I'm going to have this lovely avocado. I don't know what they mix it with, but it's not chili, thank goodness, because I'm not keen on chili. On sourdough toast, and then a cup of, an oat milk cappuccino. Can you tell I'm excited? Oat milk cappuccino. And then we're going to talk about new homes, and then we're perhaps going to go to the village near where we live to have a little drive around there, you know, putting the energy there. Oh, I quite like that, because I don't think there's anything to rent at the moment in this village. And just going and having a look-see. And who knows who we might bump into and say, do you know of a house that's to rent round here? And or a flat, because we'd like it if there is. Anyway, I love you and leave you. Have a great Saturday. See, I don't know if any of me crew that are turning up tonight to talk about guilt in the Healing Parents, but if you're watching, I'll see you tonight. Yeah. All right, lots of love. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.